There's this really strange feeling that's kind of taken over the internet. It's this weird mix of like quiet unease, but also a bizarre kind of comfort. It's a feeling I bet you've had before, but maybe you just couldn't put a name to it. Well, today we're going to do just that. I mean, seriously, think about it. Have you ever just been scrolling and you see a picture of an empty hallway or maybe a deserted playground at dusk and you get this pang of nostalgia, but it's for a moment from your childhood that, well, it never actually happened? It's like a memory of a memory, you know? It feels so familiar, but you just can't quite place it.
It's like you're standing on a threshold, but it's not really a doorway. It's this feeling of being caught. Caught in a moment of transition. You're not where you came from anymore.
And you're not yet where you're going either. It's just a pause, like a strange, timeless waiting room where all the normal rules of the world just seem to be suspended for a minute. And that right there, that's the heart of it. That is the essence of a liminal space. It's this unsettling, dreamlike state of just being stuck somewhere in between. Okay, so what is a liminal space, really? It turns out this whole internet thing, well, it has some surprisingly deep roots in architecture and even anthropology. So the word itself, liminal, it actually comes from the Latin word limen, which literally means threshold. And originally, this wasn't an internet term at all. Anthropologists used it to talk about the middle part of a rite of passage. That really ambiguous time when you're not a kid anymore, but you're not quite an adult yet. You are literally on the threshold of a totally new identity. Okay, so this is where the meaning kind of splits in a really fascinating way. On one hand, you have the architectural meaning. A liminal space is just a functional transitional area. Think about a hallway, a waiting room, an airport terminal. It's a place you just pass through. But on the other hand, the internet has totally hijacked the term for an aesthetic, a whole vibe. It's not just about the space, it's about that eerie, nostalgic, and totally surreal feeling you get from an empty place that looks just strangely familiar. And that feeling, that's really what gets to the heart of this whole thing. It's not just about pictures of empty rooms, it's about what those empty rooms actually do to our brains. So yeah, why do we feel that weird mix of comfort and dread when we look at, say, a deserted shopping mall or a school after everyone's gone home? Well, the answer seems to be all about how our minds process things that are familiar. Okay, so you've probably heard of the Uncanny Valley, right? Usually we talk about it with robots that look almost human, but not quite, and it just makes them super creepy. Well, researchers think the same thing is happening here, but with places. It's an uncanny valley for spaces. These images look like a place we should know, but something is just a little bit off, like, say, the complete lack of people, and that tiny deviation from reality is what creates that classic unsettling feeling. And the writer Mark Fisher actually had a great name for this. He called it the failure of presence. The idea is pretty simple. A school is supposed to be loud and chaotic, buzzing with students and teachers. So when you see it totally silent and empty, it's that absence of what you expect. That's what feels so wrong, so unnatural and unsettling. So what you end up with is this really complex cocktail of emotions. You've got a heavy dose of nostalgia, and weirdly, it's often for a past that isn't even yours. Then you've got this sense of disorientation, almost like you're lost in a dream. And, of course, the big one, that profound feeling of being totally and utterly alone, like you're the last person on Earth. Now, this general feeling was kind of bubbling under the surface of the internet for years. But then one single terrifying story came along and just rocket launched the whole thing into a full-blown online myth. So here's how it went down. It all started back in 2019. An anonymous post pops up on 4chan describing a place called the Backrooms. It's this endless maze that you could accidentally no-clip into from our reality. That idea really struck a chord, especially in 2020 when the lockdowns made empty public spaces a reality for everyone. But the thing that made it absolutely explode was in 2022 with Kane Pixel's found footage series on YouTube. That series took this vague, creepy idea and turned it into a massive mainstream phenomenon. And the original story just set this scene so perfectly. It wasn't just visual, it was a full-on sensory assault. I mean, you can almost smell that old, moist carpet and hear that maddening humbuzz of the fluorescent lights. This was the lore, the story that took a simple, creepy photo and turned it into this huge, terrifying, shared universe.
But here's the thing. The wild popularity of liminal spaces and the backrooms, it might be pointing to something way deeper than just a creepy internet trend.
Yet what if the appeal isn't just about creepy hallways? What if it's about a feeling that we've somehow lost our future? There's this really fascinating theory that popped up on Reddit, and it suggests our obsession with these strangely familiar, kind of past tense places. It's no accident. It's actually a symptom of a much, much bigger cultural problem.
So the core of the theory is this. Just think back to the 20th century for a second. Every single decade had its own distinct cultural identity, right? Its own music, its own fashion, its own whole vibe. But then, somewhere around the late 90s, it feels like that forward momentum just stalled. And instead of creating brand new things, our culture seems to be trapped in this giant feedback loop, just endlessly recycling and repackaging the past.
And if you want proof, just look at Hollywood. It's the perfect example. Get this. In 1995, only one of the top 20 films was a reboot or a sequel. Just one. Fast forward to 2019, all 20 of them were. That's insane. We're a culture that is literally devouring its own past. And so, according to this theory, the reason we are so drawn to these nostalgic, unsettling images is because they reflect our own reality. The quote says it all. We live in the past because there is no future ahead of us. We're a society that has lost its vision for what's next, so we have no choice but to keep looking backward. And this is the final, absolutely chilling conclusion of the whole argument. The backrooms, they aren't some fictional horror dimension you might fall into. No. They're a metaphor for our current cultural state, this sterile, inhumanly familiar, endless loop of everything that's already happened. The reason the backrooms feel so familiar is simple. We are already in them. Which really leaves us with a deeply unsettling question, doesn't it? If this theory is right, if our culture has truly no-clipped out of reality and into this endless, nostalgic maze, well, it really makes you wonder, where's the exit? How do we get out? Or is there even an exit at all?